Welcome to a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda.
Good morning. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jimmy forgot to turn us over.
Jimmy, you want to turn
Turn
this
us
on?
on, Jim. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the April 5th meeting of the Lorain County Board of Commissioners. Our thought for the day is Proverbs 12:15 through 18. Fools think their own way is right, but the wise listen to others. A fool is quick-tempered, but a wise person stays calm when insulted. An honest witness tells the truth, a false witness tells lies. Some people make cutting remarks, but the words of the wise bring healing. I thought about you from yesterday, Mr. Cortez, how well you ran that meeting yesterday. The words of the wise bring healing, and that was a good meeting. So.
Well, thank you. Occasionally, I'm able to produce results.
Yes, you did. We have our dog from the dog kennel, our dog warden, Tim Pilblad.
Good morning. This is Kennel 18. She's actually 14 years old, picked up in Elyria. Owner was supposed to show yesterday, did not show, so becomes our property today, and she's up for adoption. Good girl. We have 26 other dogs in the kennel, so if you're looking for a dog, come and see us. Thank you. We went to the lottery system from the first come, first serve. We're not doing that anymore, so now it's a lottery. We did the first one Saturday and it was very successful.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me just explain that lottery system for Tim a little bit. As you know, Commissioners, we've had multiple ways of dealing with possible pet owners that wanted the same dog to adopt, and it's usually not ended very well before, no matter how much we've tried to be fair with folks. We used to have a lottery system, and I thought it worked quite well, but then we had some problems with our employees disrupting the proper use of the lottery system. And we went away from that, and people started camping out in the parking lot to be there first, and there was quite a bit of a ruckus over that. So now we have new employees there the last couple of years, and the integrity of the kennel is set in stone, and the good work that's being done there. I felt the lottery system would work again. I know there was some reservations on the board to go back to that, but people generally believe they get a fair shake. They get it pulled. It's a raffle. We call it a lottery, but it's a raffle. We use a two-part ticket. If you're there in the morning, you get into the lobby. We lock the door. You get your tickets, winning tickets drawn, and that person is able to adopt the animal. I think if you have a fair shake at it, that's all people really want.
Yep.
So I'm hopeful. Tim, thanks for doing that. I know you're a little reluctant, but you got a policy now. It's posted on the board, correct? Okay, so and that's another thing. As long as people know what the practice is, I'm sure they'll be able to follow it without problem.
People were spending a lot of time out during the night, spending the night in the parking lot, trying to be first, and yeah,
yeah, mattresses, shady vans in the corner, sleeping on the sidewalk.
I think this will work a lot better, and like you said, we have a lot of integrity with our staff and volunteers and stuff at our kennel, so it's a really great place. If you haven't been there, you need to go check it out. Madam Clerk?
Under resolutions, we do not have investments, so appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
No advances, no repayments, requisitions.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Travel.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary sheet for employees within jurisdiction of Lorraine County Commissioners.
Mr. Cortez.
Thank you, Madam Commissioner. I do have a number of personnel issues this morning. Potential hires at Job and Family Services. I am in receipt of a completed labor contract with United Steel Workers of America in the Auditor's Office that I would like to discuss. Also, I want to spend a little time going over the ongoing negotiations now at the Sheriff's Department. I'm looking at different items I need to discuss with regard to that bargaining, and possible hires in IT. I don't think I have anything for litigation this morning. And possibly potential sale of real estate. I have to see what's in my folder. All of those topics are allowable under the Sunshine Act for executive session discussions. So I'd ask at the conclusion of our regular board meeting, we go into executive session and we discuss those items. Thank you.
Thank you.
Approve and waive the reading of the minutes of March 29th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Propose House Bill 53 and support the rights of all workers in Ohio to collective bargaining.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Yes, this is an issue that we have spoken out on in the past, and we're speaking out on it again. This came up in the last legislative session. Apparently, there are folks who keep forgetting about the will and the wishes of Ohio voters and Ohio residents who clearly made known that they support collective bargaining in this state. House Bill 53 is certainly an attempt to erode collective bargaining and the strength of labor in our state. We want to send a very clear message that we obviously support the rights of workers to collectively bargain. Also, as members of bargaining groups, everybody pays their fair share, and that's part of the process. That's the way the process is supposed to work. To try to erode that process is to fly in the face of the wishes and the will of Ohioans who have said over and over again they support collective bargaining. Right to work sounds good. Right to work is wrong. It's not a good thing for workers. What it leads to is basically lower wages, unsafe working conditions, and deaths on the job. And there's a reason why collective bargaining is a good thing for workers to have a safer workplace, to be able to provide for their families, to be able to have good health care for their families. And there's a reason why workers come home at night with their limbs attached and alive. So we want to send a very clear message that we support the rights of all workers in Ohio for collective bargaining, and we oppose this latest movement to push basically right to work in Ohio.
It seems like the legislature brings this up every year or every other year.
Right.
We're sending resolutions down opposing what they're trying to do to workers' rights. So, again, the state's told them multiple times, going back to SB 5, no, we don't want a right to work. But we'll see what happens now. The world's upside down. So,
Well said.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Award contracts for Phase 2 Lorain County Courthouse Addition Alteration Project, the amount of $5,196,400. Issue notice to proceed on or about April 17th, 2017, and complete on or about January 2nd, 2018. Authorize administrator to notify the county auditor to release retainage at completion of project. Item 1, general contract work to Moser Construction Fremont for concrete fence irrigation cleaning, $2,913,700. Plumbing contract work to Sona Construction Inc., Cleveland, $301,900. Fire protection contract to RM Regal Enterprises Inc., Berea, $127,800. HVAC contract work to Ozone Construction Inc., Cleveland, $100,000. Electrical contract work to South Shore Electric, Inc., Elyria, $727,000. And elevator contract work to Sona Construction, Inc., Cleveland, $126,000.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
It's nice to be starting on this project and moving it forward.
Well, it is, Commissioner. We've done quite a bit of prep work. As you can see, the site's been periodically having work done on it. I'm really pleased with the work to date. We've dug out the foundation in the basement of the building, and we've sealed all the block. We've added impermeable membranes to the block so that the water intrusion that was always a problem in that sandstone is going to be substantially decreased. I think you'll find that the building will be far less damp than it always appeared, far less musty than it appeared at times. Simply put, the water was wicking up through the foundation into the sandstone, and taking all the trees and shrubs down, which we're going to re-landscape tastefully at the end of the project, helps keep the building dry, but we also had to stop the water from wicking up into the stone. Why that was never done ever in the life of this courthouse beyond me, because it's undergone at least 2 major renovations, possibly 3 that we can identify because of the age of the building. We also, while we sealed that, we also laid footer tile and French drains around the building to run the water off of that, storm drains, and it goes into the storm system. So I'm real comfortable about the integrity now of the entire building. And once we start cleaning and sealing the outside of the sandstone, that's going to make another huge, significant difference in keeping the water away from the building. That said, we picked a lot of options on this courthouse project. We're going to spend a little bit more than a little more money on it than we initially considered doing, and I'd like to speak to that just for a moment. The 3rd floor, which really wasn't a floor, it was more a partial floor, and it was pretty rickety at that. We had an opportunity, and we only had one opportunity to build out that 3rd floor, make it a complete 3rd floor in the courthouse. As you know, most of it was catwalks and over suspended drop ceilings and just some really nasty stuff back in there. It was fun to go back in there if you've had nothing better to do, and there was a lot of garbage stacked back in those corners from decades ago that we've cleaned out. But if we didn't complete the 3rd floor at this renovation, it could not be completed until another renovation because of how the building is built and the significant work being done on the 2nd floor. The board chose at this point to build out completely the 3rd floor. That added substantial cost to the project because of the internal truss systems that have to be installed and to support the entire 3rd floor. Also, we had to put a fire suppression system in the building that we didn't originally plan on because that took the building into a position of a more major renovation. So we had a different set of building codes that we had to follow and meet the requirements of. We've dampened that cost a bit by not needing to use booster pumps on the suppressor system at this time. But in the likelihood that there may be a problem in the future, we've also made sure that we can use booster pumps. The system's built to be able to install a booster pump. It's booster pump ready. In the future, it'll be laid in without the pumps. But if the water pressure decreases any, we're right on the edge. If it decreases any on a continuous basis, there may be the need in the future for those booster pumps. I'm hopeful. Illyria's doing a lot of work downtown. They've improved their infrastructure. I think we'll be fine with the pressure. But if they're not, then we're not. That said, there's a lot of external work that the board's doing to bring out and enhance the building in a way that it's going to be representational of the magnificent structure that it is. We can't rebuild the cupola on the roof. That's been long gone. But there are artistic aspects of this building that are going to be highlighted with some uplighting and cleaning, and we're going to really bring out the beauty and the elegance during this project. Lastly, it was decided to expand the parking lot. Parking's always been a big challenge, especially on this site. We're not going into a lot of the grassy area behind the courthouse. That's sacred land back there to a lot of folks. But on the Court Street side, the parking lot's going to be pushed all the way down. It'll be decoratively done. We're going to add about 25 or 30 spaces down there. We worked with Elyria. We will receive their spaces on Court Street. It's been a real disaster trying to, who's got what space, what belongs to the city, what belongs to the county. We haven't really completed that process yet, but I've been assured that those spaces will transfer over. Recognizing we're also working in conjunction with the city on their repaving of Court Street, so we had some things we needed to do, working with them, and also on the repaving and restructuring of 3rd Street. For those that haven't followed that progress, the turning lanes coming out of 3rd Street completely, and it's going to be just 2 lanes. By the courthouse now, it's actually 3 lanes. So we're actually going to be pushing out, and we're holding back on a lot of our work there until the city resculptures the street, and then we're going to be moving we're not really moving the property line per se, it's still going to be in the right-of-way, but all work is going to be done on that end down there. That's in collaboration with the city. We're also using a streetscape that's similar to what the city's doing on most of the renovated streets. I thought at one time we were going to change the lighting scheme down the street to the type of lights being used in Elyria. I'm not sure where that's at. I think their project may run short a little bit on funds to do that because they wanted that seamless look, and we have really 3 different sets of lights going down 3rd. And lastly, the trees going down are going to be similar so that we have a similar tree line going down 3rd Street. It really should be a very nice project. I think Larry's done a great job on Middle Avenue. It looks good in the corners there, and we're going to blend in pretty seamlessly with that. I will say, though, that we are putting an extension on the back of the building. We put the drawings out. We've shown everybody the pictures. I don't know if I don't have a rendering here of that, but I want somebody being shocked. We've tastefully blended by using sandstone and some glass, and we're going to bring it out the back. Now, if somebody's saying, well, why are you putting an extension on the building? We actually don't need an extension for the square footage we need. We need the extension to be able to meet the laws under ADA and the Section 504 with regard to public projects. The elevation of the main floors of the of the courthouse is so high that if we tried the ramp, which we would have been required to do, with the angle that you have, with the grade you're allowed to put on the ramp, it would have been zigzagging right across the back lawn. Now, we handled that in the past by having a very, very non-functional, in my mind, solution, which was that exterior elevator that had to push a button in, somebody went out, half the time it didn't run, it was always out in the weather. It just wasn't a practical solution. You almost had to man it all the time to be able to effectively utilize it. So rather than to try to deal with all that, which I think would have been a hideous solution, we've decided to put a small extension on the back, which will have a more or less a lobby area. It'll have an internal elevator lift inside. It'll be an open lift type area, and there'll be some new stairs. We have salvaged the sandstone from the back of the building. There'll be for the first time a nice walk between the Justice Center, the admin building, and the courthouse, which doesn't take you in 7 different directions through a parking lot and falling over broken curbs. In the center of that will be a small remembrance circle, and the backing to that will be the sandstone used from the back stairs that were taken off and recaptured.
Upcycling them.
We're recycling them.
Upcycling.
We're also looking to use some of those to put a wall around the transformers, so we don't have these big ugly green transformers stuck on the side of the building. I think that's really going to be nice. There'll be some benches put there. Also, we've spent a little extra money. There's 2 memorials out in front of the building. We've known about the Workers' Memorial, but it was growing moss on it from the shade up there. It really hasn't gotten the respect it needs since they put it up there. And there's a well, I am having problems this morning. I apologize. WW1 memorial that most people don't even know exists on the opposite side of the courthouse. Both those areas will be paved in with stamped concrete. There'll be some reflection benches there. The respect we paid to those areas that needs to be, and hopefully when we do the courthouse, we'll be rededicating those memorials for the purpose they were. I'm really excited about the work that's going on up there. The whole front of the courthouse is going to be brought back to, as best we can, to the historical perspective from the look from Eli Park. And I think people are going to be very pleased if they just give us an opportunity not to be too critical while we're working on this. I will say the date of January is not really my target date. My target date's more fully probably around March of next year. This is to get us started. I really don't want to rush this project. There's no reason to get in there in January. I don't really want to make a move into this building in January, in the middle of the winter. We're doing quite well on the Broad Street building with the adult probation people. They've been great to work with. They're really satisfied over there where they are. But I would rather see a spring move, and I want to put that out there now so later on somebody goes, oh, you missed a deadline. My deadline is not January. My deadline is the spring, sometime March, early April, so we do this right. I want to make sure we spend some months getting the right furniture in there, cleaning up the interior. But especially, I want the public to be able to come out and tour the building before we're occupying it. I want them to see what we've done, what their taxpayers' dollars are paid for. I want to rededicate the building, rededicate those memorials up there, and give them an opportunity. Because once we start occupying that building, we have all kinds of security issues, and I don't want them with their faces pressed up against the glass, not being able to go through there and seeing the work that's been done. I think it's important that we do that. So a little more than I wanted to say, but thank you very much for the opportunity, and we're going to deliver a great project here. I will tell you, I met with every contractor on this job on Thursday or Friday of last week for about an hour or two. Told them how we do our business in Lorain County. Told them if there was a weakness in their bid now, get out of the pool, because they were going to drown if they thought they were going to live on change orders and allowances and so forth. We built the Justice Center that way. I know there was some problems with certain people on that actually went to jail, but there was never a problem with the actual build. That all happened before we took the project. Remember, we brought that project in millions under budget and ahead of our planned schedule, and that's what we plan on doing here. There's a lot of unknowns still with an old building, I will caution you that. We're still finding quite a few things, but I'm pretty certain that everybody knows where we're going from here. I just wanted to make sure that these contractors understood. Some of them haven't worked with us before. We're going to be brutal on holding down these costs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody involved for all the work they've done in this. I know when I was seeking this office, I had a lot of people say to me, you know, please, you got to save the courthouse, find a way to save the courthouse or a viable use for it. I know that I believe my predecessor thought it should be a homeless shelter, also thought it should be torn down. I think that would have been extremely irresponsible and foolish. We have found a good governmental use for it. Thus, the investment that we're making in it, we're making sure that we're doing it right. As you said, might as well get to the third floor and get that done for future growth. Make sure everything's taken care of. Finally, get cleared up the whole parking issue around there. Making sure that fire suppression is all addressed, so you don't have to go back and address all these things later. But I'm excited that we're moving forward with it. I think the end result is certainly also going to pay the due respect to the World War I Memorial and all those who've served, and the Workers' Memorial, which honors all the workers who've died on the job. So this is it's an investment that was long overdue, and one I think that will also help it protect and preserve an important part of history here in Lorain County.
Yeah, I think we made the right decision by, I know it's costing more money, but to finish the third floor, the way the probation department is growing by leaps and bounds because of all the things that are going on in our world today, it only made sense to finish that, and if we didn't do it now, it was not ever going to happen. So congratulations to everybody that has been working on this.
Been a long road
Yes,
to this
it has.
point. But
And you know, cutting down trees, nobody likes to see trees cut down, but you can really see the majestic building now. It was really hidden by the canopies from the trees before, so
I
you can really
promise-
see all the details, and it'll be tastefully done, not just willy-nilly a tree here and a tree there. It'll be done.
It's going to be beautiful when it's done. The park area is going to be re-sculptured, and you're going to see a real improvement in how the overall look is. It'll be nice.
But that building just needed, as much everybody said over and over again, that building needs sunlight because of the sandstone, and that's where all the moisture and moss and all those problems were.
Right.
And that's why the
Tried
trees.
to cut the trees down a couple times
Right.
over the last decade. Wasn't very successful. I think, Commissioner Kelly, you remember some of the comments on that.
We don't want to go there.
no, we ain't going there. It's-
Okay.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Job and Family award contract to Tarek Roofing, Inc., Akron, in the amount of $912,288 for roof replacement. 13 bids open on March 16th. This being the most responsive, complying with specifications. Issue notice to proceed on or before July 1st. Complete on or before October 31st. Authorize administrator to notify the auditor to release retainage and completion of project.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Just for a moment, again, I like to, people look at our agenda to go up, there goes another $1 million. Nope, it's not a whoops, it's not an ups. This is, this money will be recouped from the state. We paid off the Job and Family Services building late last year. We either renovate it and keep it in good condition, or we don't get any support from the state. We're not allowed to charge them rent. We can charge them debt service when we're working on the building, and we can charge them debt service for capital improvements to the building, but we cannot charge per se rent.
And we're not allowed to do another building again, like we used to.
They, you know, the round robin of moving your Job and Family Services every 12 to 15 years so that they built a new building for you ended a few years back. So while I'm not happy that we have 900 miles of roof on a single story at the Job and Family Services Center, and nor have I ever been happy about that, or that we have 19 different individual rooftop HVAC units. I've never been happy with that either. It is what it is, and those decisions were made long before us, but I'm going to have to maintain that building in a good state of repair. That's where they're going to be for the next 20 or 30 years. So this will all be reimbursed once we go to bonding from the state of Ohio to direct and indirect cost allocations that we do for the building. So it's not local money at the end of the day that's repairing this building. Just want to make sure that the taxpayers understand that.
Under the engineer, award contract to Kokoski Construction Company, Elyria, in the amount of $788,687.25 for the Overland Road resurfacing project in Russia Township and City of Overland. 7 bids were received on March 28th, and these being the most responsive, complying with specifications. Kokoski does not propose substitutions, but will use American Railway Logistics, CATS Construction, and Garcia Surveyors as subcontractors. Project includes resurfacing Overland Road 3.2 miles from East College Street, Overland to the Rush Road. OPWC will contribute 89% or $582,603.27 as a grant. Additional $119,328.38 as a loan to be paid over a 12-year period, and this should be saved 0% interest on that. I know.
It's right next to the zero on the
That is what
keyboard.
I'm saying. City of Overland will contribute up to 15% of local share, or $13,013.34, and certify funds to repay up to 15%, or $17,899.26 of OPWC loan. Issue notice to proceed on or before April 24th, complete on or before October 31st, and authorize the administrator to notify the auditor to release retainage.
So moved.
Second.
Just,
Discussion.
Commissioner, this is really a great collaboration here that should be recognized between the parties. Engineer Carney's office has always been successful at lining up various funding streams to limit the amount of local dollars that are necessary for these projects. Sometimes we blow right by them and don't really look at what's been achieved here between various political subdivisions and the coming together and the cost sharing and getting in line years ago sometimes for funding and making sure the OPWC lines up with and then getting over the NOACA and getting it. Commissioner Kalo, you're down there. Commissioner Lundy, you're down there. You know about those things. These are not easy projects. We read it off the agenda. Everybody goes, okay. No, it takes
A lot of work
years.
goes into it.
It takes a lot of hours. It takes a lot of sweat, and it takes a lot of keeping the collaborations that are sometimes fragile together so that we improve this community. So I think we need to say good job to the engineer's office, and they do a few of these that go very well under the radar.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Notice to bidders for chip and seal program on various county roads. Notice in the Chronicle on April 7th and 14th, and open at 3 p.m. on April 25th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
You want to do soil and water?
Yep.
Okay.
Please.
Soil and water, Carolyn, the urban erosion and stormwater specialist. Carl, natural resource coordinator, and Will, board chair.
Get to
Good
see you guys
morning.
2 times in a week.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you feel like you're having deja vu, it's because we were just speaking last week. Just to do some quick introductions, my name is Cicerchi. I'm the Urban Erosion Stormwater Specialist with Lorain Soil and Water. This guy here is Schlechter. He's our chairman of the board. And then these guys back here, we have George Anders. He's the Eaton Township Zoning Inspector, but he's also going to be replacing Karl Schneider, who's sitting behind him. Karl is our Natural Resources Coordinator, and he's retiring this year. So we've got George to fill in where he's leaving. And we have Clark Hudson. He's our Program Specialist. Helps us keep in compliance with the state and everything like that. So what we're going to talk about today, first I'm going to go over some stormwater figures that I do as a stormwater specialist, and then touch on some of the outreach programs that we do. Some of them are annual, some of them are new this year, some are new last year, things like that. And thank you guys for having us this morning. Appreciate it. So just to go over our mission statement. The Soil and Water Conservation District provides leadership in a partnership effort to help people conserve, maintain, and improve the natural resources and environment in Lorain County. So first, these stormwater figures, I just brought on some from 2014 up until last week when I submitted the PowerPoint. I've been working, just to give you a timeline, I started in September of 2015. So some of the 2014 ones, were before my time. So 2014 permits issued, we had 115. 97 in 2015, 2016, 109, and then as of last week, we have 33. Fees collected, that would be in 2014, 8,720. In 2015, 12,850. 2016, 8,045, and then as of last week, 1,430. And last week, I actually did just get another roughly $400 check, and then some more $50. So that's still a growing figure. For 2015, the reason why that one looks so high, we did have a lot more subdivisions that came in, and when we issue those permit fees, it's based on the acreage, so the large subdivisions have larger permit fees in the thousands, stuff like that. For some stormwater initiatives, what I do when someone is looking for consultation on a property before they buy it, it's a free service I offer. I'll look over the property, generate a report. That's what it looks like there on the right. Last year, what were tracked were only 7 reports. We do track all of our initiatives in an online tracking system, so we can see the figures and kind of get an idea of how much we've been doing and the growth between years. And this year already, I've done 7 as of last week. So 2017, as of March 30th, I've already done 7 of those reports. And last year, I had the opportunity to reach out to some Girl Scout troops out of LaGrange Township. I did a stormwater pollution presentation, and that's kind of the model I went with. Pour some water on it, and it shows the runoff. They pretty much enjoyed it. I got to pass out some Lorain County public implementation, public education materials, coordinated with Lundy to grab some of those. So that all went really well. For me right now, I'm working on designing a more user-friendly website. The one on the left is our current website, and on the right is what's up and coming. Try to chip away at that when I do have downtime, but the stormwater inspections is my full-time position here. We do have annual sales, so we have a spring and fall fish sale. Those are some pictures from that. Fender's Fish Hatchery. They bring in their truck, and they've got the fish on the back, and we fill up the buckets and transport it to the landowners. We have an annual spring seedling sale, which we're taking orders right now. Grove Fruit Farm actually lets us use their facility to sell them, so we use some of their pallets there that you see, and that's a really fun sale to get into. We also have an annual poster contest, and it's from National Association of Conservation Districts, and it's for K through 12. I was able to go out to the schools and present the winners last year, and as you can see on the left picture, that guy next to me was thrilled to be there and thrilled to be the honorable mention winner. It was very fun to go out and talk to those guys. And 2015, Lori Conrad was our previous administrative assistant that we had, and she was really big into going out into the schools as well. This year's contest theme is "The Healthy Soils Are Full of Life." And anytime posters come in, we put our heads together at the office and review, make sure they're following the criteria. And it does go from local to state to a national competition to the NACD. Another annual initiative that we have is the Envirothon High School competition. As the name implies, it's for high schoolers. They put a team of 5 together, coordinate with their counselors. We'd like to see more involvement with that, but we don't have the staffing to kind of get out there to the schools and reach out to those guys. And the Wellington School has been a really good active participant, and I believe this year they were unable to come through, so that's unfortunate on that end. But it's a competition that goes over a few different topics: invasive species, forestry, soils, aquatics, things like that. And the winners get to go on from the state to the national competition, things like that as well. We do have a scholarship. Joe McRoberts was a technician for many years at Soil and Water, and he passed away from leukemia, so we do have a scholarship fund in his honor. It's $1,000. We do issue 2 of them. One is for the continuing education for natural resources and agricultural fields. So if you're already enrolled and you're looking to pursue further education and you're continuing your bachelor's or something like that, we do offer the $1,000 scholarship. And then there's for high school seniors as well as another $1,000 for the new enrollment students. And that's us from our annual meeting, myself presenting the award for the 2016 recipient, and there's a picture of the 2015 recipient. Annually, we do set up the Red Barn over at the Lorain County Fair. On the left, you'll see the picture of the station that we set up. We hand out posters, informational brochures, things that promote the district. On the right, that was actually, I think, the biggest pumpkin to date. It was somewhere around 500 pounds, I would say. So there is a judging competition for the produce and things like that that follow the rules in the book. We do set up and tear down all of what you see here, so it's a pretty intense endeavor. You gotta do your stretches before you go up and down those bleachers. And then the bottom right, there is a kids competition. They submit their plates, displays based on themes, if I recall correctly, and baskets, things like that. And that's Carl there in the photo, doing the Lorain County Cooperator of the Year, presenting it at our annual meeting. We give out that award each year for different producers that have, successful and over-the-top conservation implementation on their farm, things like that. We give out that award as a good job. 2016, we did do a big tree contest, and we're going to have it again this year for the red oak family. Last year was the white oak, so you can see myself on the right there with the Wellington Cemetery Sexton. That tree actually won, and then Carl's measuring on the left. We did have the big tree contest a few years back, if I recall. Wasn't there to do it, but so I've heard. And that's had a lot of interest, and we do issue gift cards from Slyman's Lumber, so we do try to coordinate locally to issue out the awards, and they've been gracious enough to sponsor us for that competition. And there's some more of the big tree contest at the annual meeting, presenting it to the top 3 winners. Last year we did do a pollinator initiative, Ohio Pollinator Habitat Initiative. Got together with most of the soil and water districts, so you were able to sign up to use one of those trash bins, basically on the left, to collect milkweed pods. The common milkweed plant is to promote the growth of monarch butterflies, which are in decline. So we were able to use our office as a facility to collect those pods. We did get them back, and now we have the individual seeds. And we're going to put together another outreach program off of that to dole out those seeds and keep the monarch population growing and the public involved with that. We do have a rain garden out front of our facility. This is what it looked like, I believe, in 2015 when it was installed. With some of those milkweed seeds that we received from the pollinator initiative, we're going to start a pollinator garden just to the left of that on our facility with some native wildflowers, things like that, and put some signs out there that promote pollinator species and get the public interested in that sort of thing. New this year, we had a cover crop event, and we had Buckeye Soil Solutions come and speak with us, and we had about 25 people that showed up to that. Cover crops are, to promote conservation of your soils, your nutrients, keep your nutrients on the land, help waterways stay clean, things like that. We are offering a pond management clinic. Back in 2015, Chip Went, my predecessor at Soil and Water, put on the first clinic, and we're bringing it back, and he will be presenting again this year. So coming up at the end of April, he's going to do a presentation on pond management, things like that. We'll use our pond on site there. New this year, kind of approved last year, we are partnering with Lorain County Farm Bureau for a water quality grant partnership. We were awarded some money through Farm Bureau's facility. We're going to do an edge of field study that will test the water coming out of tile drains, things like that, to check for phosphorus that's coming out. We haven't worked out all the kinks just yet, but we're thinking we're going to use something similar to what's pictured on the right. That's a colorimeter. It's kind of a handheld tool that you can put your vial of water into, and it reads the color that shows up and tells you how much phosphorus is coming out of your tile. From local discussions, I've talked with Erie Soil and Water, and they've done a similar type of study, and it's been a really big success, and the farmers that are involved seem to really take to it and appreciate that those excuse me, those tools are out there, because it has tailored how they're taking care of their land just from the results of those studies. So we're looking forward to get that starting up here in the next couple of months. Some other initiatives. In 2012, we did have a grant that coordinated with Cuyahoga and Medina counties to do a cover crop test site. So similar to that cover crop presentation we did, this was kind of a grant that actually had the cover crop put into the ground. And Karl Schneider, he does our pollution abatement laws that are required through the Department of Agriculture. We keep the county in compliance with that. So on the right, you'll see some manure that's getting into a waterway, and then you'll see in this next photo what it looks like after he's been out there and consulted with them and given them some advice on how to get back into compliance. You can see the clean waterway, and he works with them to resolve the problems there. Karl also does drainage investigations when we get complaints, which there's never a lack of those that come through our office. This is an example of rural filling that happens on some properties. We'll go out and investigate, try to talk to the landowners and kind of work with them to get that resolved. The district does have funding through the Lake Erie Nutrient Reduction Program. This is actually a property that's just across from our office, Carlisle Township. They were able to put in a water quality structure that is pictured there through the Nutrient Reduction Program, and that actually retains the water and lets them use it on their farm. Instead of it just running out the tile, it holds in the nutrients, and he can use it kind of as an irrigation system. And as of this year and working through last year, Karl was able to survey and design a City of Oberlin flood relief drainage system that you see there. So that was an ongoing community partnership. We do hold conservation easements that we inspect annually. There you can see an example of that. And then we do also do erosion and drainage complaints, average of 50 to 60 visits a year from our part-time staff, just Karl and soon to be George taking over that. Consult with the landowners, provide advice and solutions, things like that. And that was all I had on that topic. Did you guys have any questions on all of that I breezed through?
How many people did all that last year?
Well, it's pretty much myself, Lynn Parsh, our administrative assistant, and Karl for the time being. Yeah, Karl's 1 day a week. My full-time gig is to do those inspections on a monthly basis and do reports, and I do some follow-up inspections. When I get complaints, sometimes I'll field Karl's complaints if it sounds like it's coming off of new home construction where our permit system would fall into place. So a lot of my time is spent just planning how I'll time manage to do some of these events and things like that. But yeah, it's pretty much the three of us, and soon to be George as Karl's replacement. We would love to do a lot more with the schools and keep the Envirothon rolling and keep more poster contests, participants coming in. With an educator position type thing, if we had another full-time staff, it would really shift things around. Each program that we do, there's flyers that get put together, there's PowerPoints, things like that, and then there's always the field time to go out and implement them. So it's kind of a big juggling game, but we try to keep out there and keep involved. So
tell us about, and I think this is really important. I know when I was in Columbus, we were always working with the Farm Bureau and the agricultural community as part of the Lake Erie nutrient reduction issue. Tell us about working with our local farmers here. I just stress over and over again, you know, I don't want us to get into finger pointing and saying, well, blame the farmers for this or whatever it may be. You know, they have a business to run and a family business to take care of as well too. And just tell us about working with them. I know my interaction with the farmers has been that, you know, they're equally concerned and they want to make sure that they're working in conjunction with the state and whatever the local rules and regulations are.
Yeah, and maybe Carl could touch on that a little bit further, but my position is more on the urban side of things, and Carl does have a lot more interactions with farmers. He does the manure complaint resolutions and things like that. Carl, did you have anything to touch on about working with them?
Farmers are actively involved.
You just come
You
up
can
to the
go right there.
microphone there, so
Yep.
folks at home can hear you.
There's things called the 4Rs right now, where farmers are looking at using the proper amount of fertilizer, putting it in the right place, putting it at the right time. That is one of the active initiatives that's ongoing through Farm Bureau in the state of Ohio and through the soil and water conservation districts. That is the main impetus in that, just like you're seeing in the Maumee River and Toledo and the algae, is to keep the nutrients out of Lake Erie. And that benefits them in two ways. One, it helps clean up our environment, and two, it helps them put nutrients where they belong at the right time for their crops so they can maximize the benefit for that. So that is just an active program that's going on. In addition to that, for years they've been installing erosion control practices on their farm, both permanent and annual practices to keep the soil in place, to keep nutrients on the farm. And we've done, over the years, we've done.
You're good, you're good. It was just a little too loud at
We had
first.
a large meeting here yesterday,
Yeah.
so we had to turn it way up.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay. And that's what I've been working on for 35 plus years, 40 years now that I've been working for soil and water conservation in Lorain County, is getting farmers to install these permanent conservation practices to keep the soil in place, to keep the livestock in place on farms and keep it out of the waterways. So those are kind of the impetus. And a lot of that's done through our office. A lot of it's done in cooperation with USDA. They have a variety of programs that they do, but just like everybody else, their funds are going down, their personnel is going down. But the acceptance, a lot of this stuff in terms of the farmers is something that we see over the years is just growing and growing. So they're doing it not only on a voluntary basis, but a lot of these things, they do need cost share funds, they do need technical assistance to help apply those in conservation practices, and that's what we do.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we weren't finger pointing, because finger pointing doesn't solve anything. And but I've seen in my experience has been a willingness on the part of the farmers to work with everybody. I know I was having a conversation with someone in the agricultural community the other week, and they said, "Well, I'm just concerned because I feel like people keep blaming the farmers for these issues, and it's something that we all have to work together on." To resolve and make better, and I believe they see the importance of it as well.
We do get several of these complaints of livestock waste pollution over the course of the year. And that's the one regulatory issue that we deal with the Ohio pollution abatement laws. And those things we tried to take care of them locally, and we've been pretty successful 100% of the time. We have dealt with them locally, so we don't have to turn them over to Jerry and the state attorney general.
You guys do a very good job, especially in light of the budget you have to work with and in light of what's happening at the federal level. I know Will's going to talk about the budget yet, but we may have to talk about increasing what their budget's going to be in regards if there's no Great Lakes money coming in to help us. This helps a lot, downstream, so.
Absolutely.
Congratulations on your retirement coming up too, so.
Second one.
The second one? Thank you. Are you going to talk about our budget?
Yeah. And as Carl said, he's been here for 4 years, so we're going to lose a real wealth of knowledge. He's been in the county for 4 years. Farmers know him really well, so they don't have a hard time, picking up the phone and say, "Hey, Carl, what can we do with this?
Yeah.
How can we improve things?" So, thank you, Carl, for all the time you put forth. And George is if we could have found anyone better, George is the one we found. He's dealt with some of this stuff in his own township. Kind of comes from a different background, but they're working together for a couple months here to kind of get things together as far as how things work in the office. So we're looking forward to having George with us. But as we get into the budget, we've been funded $60,000 for the last couple of years here, primarily based on our rent, which is about $22,000, and then the fees that Caroline collects this year, I think, is roughly a little over $8,000, so that's about $30,000. Then we'll be able to collect some money from SWAC to help offset some of them costs. So I mean, if we could do that again, that'd be great. But you know, losing Karl and having all these other water quality issues, it'd be really nice to be able to have an extra person in there. I put technician in there, but you know, really it's an outreach person to outreach the farmers to help improve, you know, what they're doing, teach them. A lot of people, farmers, they want to do something, but they need
Guidance?
get guidance. Thank you. They need the guidance to do it, and sometimes there is some money to help them with that through the state soil and water funds they set aside, and through the federation also. But so that helps. So once one farmer Wayne Sims, he put the water control structure across from our office there, and you know, that's the only one in the county. So other farmers that might be interested come over and look at it. I mean, he's got wheat over there. It looks like a beautiful field of wheat. It's holding the water back right now. It's not letting those nutrients come up. The wheat's actually, you know, sucking it up. And then when it's harvest time, he's able to let the water out so he can get in there without making a mess in the field. So that's one thing that we've done. So you know, back to the budget. You know, if your budget allows, you know, for extra money, so we can hire another person, that would be great.
Well, that's on a 50% match, correct? Well, whatever we give you, you get almost 50% back from the state?
Yeah, it's roughly that. And to tell you the truth, that number's kind of been going down a little bit. Not because the state is giving less of a pot of money, but there's 88 counties, and as a whole, all the counties, not all of them, because everyone's set up differently, but they're giving a little bit more money. So a county that gets more of appropriation, they'll get more of a state match.
Right.
So that's changing a little.
Sure.
Would you like Clark to address that? Okay.
Come on up.
The whole water quality issue is extremely important right now, so.
Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Clark Hudson. I'm a program specialist with the Ohio Department of Agriculture, Division of Soil and Water Conservation. And I work with Lorain District and 12 other districts in north central Ohio, primarily on administrative and fiscal issues. The state match formula, we greatly appreciate all the dollars that are given by the local entities. For every dollar that is appropriated by county commissioners out of the general fund is matchable. There are some other sources. Townships and municipalities can also give money that's matchable. The way the formula has worked the last several years, and we're in a new biennium, so I can't say for sure that that's what's going to happen this year. But the first $15,000, well, each district gets a flat rate of $15,000, regardless of whether they get anything locally or not. That's kind of just to keep the doors open kind of dollars. The first $20,000 that's appropriated locally that's from a matchable source is matched at 125%. So for the first $20,000 that a county gives from the general fund, the district would actually receive $40,000 in state match. The break-even point, after that, we take the pot that's left, and last year that pot was $14,366,000 was what was appropriated across the whole state, and the remaining dollars were matched at about 60%. This year, we have done some just basic early preliminary numbers to see how much local appropriations are going to be. And as of last week, we have a commission meeting in April, and as of last week, they were almost $14.9 million. So local appropriations across the state have gone up $500,000 from last year to this year. That's if everybody gets all the money that was appropriated. So we do not know what the match pot will be. That'll be determined by the legislature in this year's budget for the next 2 years. The break-even point last year would have been if a local appropriation would have been at $70,000, the district would have gotten about $70,000 in state match. So that's where the one-to-one is. If they get more than that, it's not quite one-to-one. The key is that the dollars have to be in the district's account to get matched in this year by April 30th. We look at anything they received from last May 1st to this April 30th and take all those dollars across the state, add them up, and that's what we match. Anything that comes in after April 30th will be matched, but it will not be matched until next year's appropriation. So we really appreciate we have a 5-member local board that decides on the actions and decides on the priorities for this district. They work for no pay, which is, I think, important for the people to know that. And they try to spend those dollars, both the local dollars and the state dollars, appropriately for your district.
Yeah, it's something we try to explain to the public all the time, that, you know, there are matching dollars out there. The unfortunate part has been not having the original dollars to put on the table to garner the matches, and that's the part that is most frustrating. People like to talk about cut this and cut that, you know, and then people at the same time talk about being wise about the money. Well, geez, anytime you can put money on the table and have matching dollars, you know, you can grow money instead of just cutting. But you have to have the dollars to begin with, and unfortunately, we haven't had the dollars to begin with in a lot of cases, and that's been a real struggle, not just for us, but for a lot of counties, a lot of local governments, and that's also because Columbus is capturing our money and not sending it back home, and that's another big part of the problem.
I still think, though, in regards to this, I mean, the current funding is, what, $59,000 from the county between the stormwater and general fund allocation, collection of rents, however, paperwork-wise, if the break-even 70,000, if we can find another 11,000.
We need to go through that a bit,
Yeah.
and how we did that. You know, while we spent a considerable amount of time juggling.
Right, that's what we've been
in
doing,
the past.
Creative
there-
financing, I would call this one.
Well, it's very creative.
Right.
You know, on the rent scenario, I don't see Lisa here. I really would prefer we go through that, but there's the farming issue, when we receive funds from the land that we have leased out behind Murray Ridge and over by the jail. That money goes into soil and water to support their operations, so that was considered local.
As long as it, all I look at is if it comes out of the general fund,
Right.
then it's matchable under revised code
So
from
we
the county.
receive the rent, we put it into our general
Right.
fund allocation, and we do a
Then you're
bypass to soil and water.
Right, so, you know, again, this is just some of the public education, of how we
Right.
mix these things.
We lease the land to farmers and we collect rent on that.
Right, I think that's about 30 or 40,000, isn't it, over there, or 21,000? I can't remember off the top of my head. I did not bring the revenue sheet, I only brought the expense sheet, I don't know why. But we did bring money from soil and water, the stormwater district last year.
Well, our local funding's 40,556 general fund allocation, but I don't know the breakdown between the local dollars and if that's all the rent from the
Well, what we did was
farmer.
we would.
It said
we would-
34,000 from general fund, 25,000 from stormwater.
That was in 15.
Right, 16.
But the year before, it was 45,556.
And then, of course, what we do is they then match that, and then they pay us rent of $21,000 on that comes back to the general fund.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a push-pull, it goes out, but it comes back in on the match. But, you know, it works for us. Soil and water works real well with us. I can't speak enough volumes to the work that's been done on the erosion control. And the county's growing, we really need this cooperation. We really need the work that's being done. It's not a lot of money for a lot of work.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying, if the break-even point is at the $70,000 mark on match, we're $11,000 off of that before the end of April. I think we should really look at how we're gonna fund that, at least another $11,000.
To get the full
Let
match.
me
get the
bring you a
full
revenue
match.
scenario and how we can do that next week. Let's just say we need to get it done.
Yeah, we need to, we gotta do something.
And
I have real
I'll figure the
concerns.
numbers out. We may have to bring on more stormwater district money.
And why I have significant concerns as regards what's happened with the Great Lakes Restorative Initiative and no dollars, like I say, anything we can fix, you know, downstream from it ending up in our lake, I think the locals should take that opportunity.
Yeah, I hope.
I'll bring you a patch together
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
revenue scheme next week,
Right.
but I
Like I
think
said,
if I say we
if
understand.
the funds are
the
coming from
importance.
stormwater, they still need to go through the general fund.
Right,
Right.
right.
So that's all.
Yep.
Yeah, hope that our federal representatives will speak up and speak
I
up
completely
loudly.
understand your position with
because-
respect to that.
Going from that 300 million to 10 million in that Great Lakes Restoration Fund that's devastating
Yeah.
for the Great Lakes region.
Right.
And I will tell you, it was just a few years ago, we had really fits and starts with our erosion control. You saw, hopefully you're gonna speak to how well attended our presentation was, and the work that's being done that we showed. I'm gonna have that presentation done in here in a week or two that was done out there. But we finally have a cooperative relationship with this young lady that is producing results. And as I said out there, she's the one that gets bullied on the job site. She doesn't look tough, but she is. We need to continue this relationship, and we need to find a way of doing it.
Yep.
And I'll bring that to you next week, I promise.
Okay.
I can always gauge how busy Caroline's being. We come in the back door and her boots are sitting there I can always gauge how busy she's been by how many her boots are.
Yeah.
Right.
They're all the way up.
Look, I have the easy part. I get the stop work order and I sign it and I mail it. She has to go out there and deal with it.
Yeah.
So I'm protected up in my office just signing paperwork and she's on point.
Boots on the ground.
So that's the hard place to be. We're doing great work. You know we're growing in the township, especially in Columbia and Eaton. The building is unprecedented, I see, coming in the next few years, and we need all that erosion control and sediment control work going on out there. It's not going to decrease, it's only going to increase.
Yep. Anything else? No?
I don't think so.
All right.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Will.
just,
Thank you.
I would like to stress though that, 70,000 was the maximum match, but there's still match after that.
Right.
So, just a lot lesser amount, so.
And
Okay.
just to answer your question, that is, we do process that through our general fund, the stormwater money, so it gets the ultimate match, so. Okay.
They're sticky about that in Columbus.
Okay.
Right, I understand that.
All right, well, thank you for your
Thanks,
time this
Will.
morning.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Did we want to do the presentation from Jen?
We do. I was going to ask to accelerate that this morning, then we got into the agenda before I got there, but I do have a non-agenda presentation. We had a little slippage last week. I wanted to do it last week, but I wanted it to be right, so did Jen. You've been privy to some of the emails this week. We've been pressing real hard. Funny how people want you to do things for them and then they won't do for themselves. So with that, I'm really, really excited to have her presentation on what's going to be our first launch of Restaurant Week in Lorain County. We've never done one before. This is part of our initiative with the revisioning of the Visitors Bureau, and I've been working close with Jen on this for the last couple of weeks, and she has a presentation, so let's go right into it.
Okay.
Good morning, Jen.
Good morning.
Introduce
Morning.
yourself.
Hi, I'm Jen Kennedy. I am the Interim Director at Visit Lorain County. I have been working, it feels like 6 months on Restaurant Week by the time I've been making all the personal visits and everything. And Jim was not kidding with the amount of work that we've put in. When you're working with the local restaurants, the restaurants that are owned and operated, these folks wear so many different hats. You know, they're often behind the line and they're dealing with the front of the house and the books and everything. So trying to get this launched and pulled together was a really, it was a great collaboration between all these folks. So I'm really excited, and I think you'll be excited too.
Maybe from farm to table. Stormwater, soil water to table. Okay, it's gonna make me hungry. That's what this
We're
is.
gonna make you hungry. We finally finished the menus last night. They were making me hungry, but
well,
I will
that's
tell you that all of this finally came together. It was in the evening, getting it all done. Paul did deliver, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think the last finalized menu on version 3 I got last night about 11:30.
Oh my
My
God.
phone rang and I went, okay, I got it. So.
Sometimes it's tough to get the people that want things moving. So, go ahead, Jen.
Okay, so I am here to announce Restaurant Week. April 28th through May 7th, we are going to be celebrating our first Restaurant Week, which includes 2 weekends and the weekday. We actually here you can find out more information specifically on Restaurant Week at visitloraincounty.com, Loco Eats. And you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook at #LocoEats. You're going to see a lot of social media activity through Restaurant Week. But I'm going to tell you how it works and opportunities to get involved and where you can have dinner, lunch over Restaurant Week. Okay, this is kind of just a little grab there, but basically what we're doing is we are trying to get people in to uncover the Restaurant Week buzz that's been going on all throughout the country and really focusing the spotlight on our culinary scene in Lorain County. What we did this year is we actually were a little cautionary. We said, you know what, we want to do this right and build a program that's sustainable that we can grow on. So you'll see us that we started a little bit small, but that was very intentional. What we really wanted to do, like I said, is uncover the great restaurants that we have here in Lorain County. We've got a lot of wonderful restaurants that maybe people in Lorain County or even neighboring areas haven't tried. So that is our goal, is to get people to see our great culinary scene. We also, I think we get into our own habits. Well, we always go there. That's just where we go. So we also want to give people a little push to try something new. Or I was having a conversation actually in this room before, and someone said, "Oh, I've been dying to try that, but I'm on a budget." And so this is also a little of an entry-level price point at some of the finer dining restaurants. We've specifically designed that Restaurant Week menu to give people that are watching their budget a little closer an opportunity to try these restaurants. And like I said, these restaurants are locally owned and operated, so these are people that live in our community and work in our community, and we want to support those folks. Okay. Each restaurant has a Restaurant Week menu that they will be rolling out in addition to the regular menu during Restaurant Week. What had happened is we worked to develop a coursed menu, which I'll kind of run through, but I'll have a whole list of them for you. Actually, 2 restaurants decided to include a glass of wine or a beer pairing, but most restaurants are going to offer that in addition to the Restaurant Week menu. And gratuity, I want to note, is not included. We have to make sure that during Restaurant Week we take care of our staff as well. But right now we have 8 participating restaurants. 1833 is the restaurant at the hotel at Oberlin. Bistro 83 in North Ridgeville. Cole's Public House is in downtown Amherst. Jackalopes Lakeside. Nemo Grill there in Avon. Parker's Grill and Tavern in Avon Lake. Strip in Avon. And the Unicorn Restaurant and Pub out in Grafton. I am not going to run through each of these, but I do have a listing, like I said. But we have, you can see you've got a choice of your first course, your entrees. A lot of them have offered appetizers, then salad, entrees, and dessert. And what we also tried to focus on is something that is fresh, that farm-to-table concept. So you see 1833, they said, well, some of them, we've got to look and see what we get that week. So Bistro 83's menu, like I said, they included a glass of wine. They also included chicken and a vegan option as well. Cole's Public House, some Cole's Public House specialized ravioli. These are items that you can't find on the menu when you go there. This is in addition, so it's a very specially developed Restaurant Week menu.
Each restaurant's price is different?
They're a little different. What we did is, I know in Cleveland they stabilized the price.
Right.
We had a little bit of an issue with that here. We're working on that, but some of these restaurants are a little bit more different than they are in the Cleveland folks that are engaged in doing that. You'll see the price is very close. It's not much of a difference at all, but that's why I wanted it up there. I think in Cleveland it was a flat $33 or $34, but ours it varies a little bit. But this is our first time out. We compressed this. There was a lot of push. I believe we'll get closer to stabilizing that on our next turnaround, because I plan on having another one of these in the fall again.
Yeah, we're about $30 per person. However, like I said, some places included a glass of wine. That brings it to about $35. There's some that included a first course and a second course. So, it's between $35 and $30 per person. Jackalopes actually did say we will offer a $25 per person option as well. So that was something that we were working towards. Nemo Grill. And there you can see their course is a 4-course. And then there's Parker's in Avon Lake. Strip in Avon. The Unicorn. And what we wanted to do is we're actually incorporating, we really want the community to get involved and get excited and take this as an opportunity to go out. So we have a couple different things that we're working on, but I'm kind of saying have dinner on us. If someone goes out and tries the Restaurant Week menu item during Restaurant Week, and they get their card stamped from each participating restaurant and submit it back to us, they will be entered to win a $50 gift card. So, which will more than cover the price of their entree. In addition, if they do 2 restaurants, if they try 2 restaurants during restaurant week, they will be entered to win a $100 gift card to one of the participating restaurants. So really, that's going to cover them going back to a restaurant or trying another restaurant that they got a chance to participate in Restaurant Week. So we've created it really simply. Additionally, like we said, we're really going to start trying to engage people through social media. We're doing one day a week, we're going to do a foodie spotlight. And we are going to use the hashtag, have people submit. We'll submit their entries, and they can be entered to win another gift card if they submit a little feedback, and we'll publish that feedback. Or we also are working on In the Kitchen, so they can take their restaurant ideas, and we can see how the restaurant is preparing for Restaurant Week and what's going on in the kitchen. So we have, like I said, we have a lot of information that we're sharing. So we set up a special landing page for people to go to, which is the Visit Lorain County Loco Eats. Additionally, we will be utilizing all of our Facebook, social media, Instagram, Twitter. We're going to be working on Snapchat so we can get some videos on there. And we are working with the restaurants, and we have provided them a kit so that they can share our same message. We've tried to make it easy for our restaurants. We are going to be doing a digital advertising campaign, which will include all of the above. Additionally, we have negotiated some commercials on Channel 3 WKYC. We're going to get a live appearance on WKYC as well. I talked about the social media posts, and we're going to ask the restaurants to continue to talk to their audience. We've developed the landing page, which I've discussed. And of course, engage the local media and make sure that they know about Restaurant Week as well. You're going to see window clings and posters at all around town and at participating restaurants. We have a window cling for each of them. We've tried to, like I said, we have to give some props to all of our local restaurants because they have been great. However, they're busy. So we tried to make it easy for them. We're going to be providing them all of the information, the scripts for their staff. We're going to provide them the cards, just a little kit so that they feel prepared to roll out Restaurant Week as well. And then try to reward people for participating in it through gift certificates. So what questions can I answer?
Reservations at the restaurants preferably?
Yes, reservations preferably. And when you log on to the landing page, for all of the information, it will also say closed on Sunday, reservations recommended. But yes, we are asking people to make reservations. I will say Friday and Saturday nights at most of these restaurants get busy. But during the week, if, on the days that they're open, maybe a little bit easier.
Yeah, a couple of those, you want to make reservations now.
That's what I would say. That's why I was bringing it up. People really should, because those restaurants are all getting busy with spring rolling out.
Let me add this. This is our first shot,
right,
where we had a compressed time frame because Mother's Day occurs right after this, and shortly before it is Easter, and those are big events for restaurants. They didn't want to participate in Restaurant Week during those time periods. Mm-hmm. So we had a small window. We have a little shorter window than Cleveland used. And we have a little different model than Cleveland. We're incentivizing with some gift certificates if people turn in. The question that needs to be answered, even though it's not asked here, is why are we doing this through the Visitors Bureau? Because people travel to eat. People come to your community. Foodies don't have borders. And the other thing is, if our people won't stay here and spend here, they won't visit our own community, how are we going to get other people to visit our own community? And lots of people go out to dinner with friends that live in adjacent communities, and during Restaurant Week, it's a great time for people to get together and go out, couples, and go out together, and friends go out together. So I think this isn't going to encourage people to realize that we're growing on this side of Lorain County. The lessons learned from this will bring us into the spring and summer, where I think we're going to look at a cheap eats. We're going to look at, a food truck event. We're working on it, Commissioner, but we have to have success and build upon that through the lessons learned. We're going to have like family week, where you can go and take a large family and enjoy some additional food and beverage. There may be patio week. There's a lot to be offered. If we don't start somewhere, we get nowhere. And these 8 restaurants are in. There was a few more that we had hoped for, but with the compressed schedule, we couldn't get them there. I also want to caution that we don't have the big broad base that Cuyahoga has.
Right.
We just don't. So to pretend like we're Cuyahoga County is a mistake. We have to be who we are. And so people go, well, it's only 8 restaurants. There's probably only 10 or 12 that really raise to this level right now where we want to be. That's why we want to have different events so that people are going to those events and they know what they're getting and why they're going. I always love the dives and drives. Maybe the best bar food week, things like that. That's what's going to bring people here. We're not a big destination in Lorain County. We have some things to offer, but people will visit for those type of events. They will come here and they will spend some money at these events, and hopefully they'll come back.
Well, I think it's a nice addition, Jim, to everything else the Visitors Bureau does also, because it's letting people realize what we have in our own county versus those leaving and fleeing either east or west to go to restaurants and spend their money here, and hopefully their friends coming over here to participate. On top of everything else we've got going on, it's going to fill our hotel beds to generate more bed taxes. So this isn't our focus, so people don't think that our focus is now just doing local events. It's just in addition to everything else we always did.
Well, we're going to, I'm sorry, in addition to whatever.
Our stuff that brings people in from out of town, we're filling our hotel beds. People eating dinner are not filling, I don't want to think.
No, they're not filling, no. There's a lot of other activities going on.
Correct.
Of course, as you know,
just
that have been amplified. I'm just staying focused on this particular of these events here. I see us having Beer Fest week. I see us having, like I said, Best Bar Burger week, things like that. People will come from Cuyahoga. They will come from Erie County. They will cross the border to do that. But no, we're still doing the bring them in from outside the county. We're still doing the spillover from various outside. We're doing the visitor's guide. Jen and I have been like, my God, going through the visitor's guide. There was significant issues that I talked to all of you individually about and showed you what changes we needed to make in that. And we're spending a lot of time advertising Cuyahoga Falls. It's a great place to go. We're not doing that no more. But it takes transformational change takes time. But we're focused on the right direction and rebranding and remarketing some of the initiatives there. Not to say that there wasn't great work being done before. We're still doing the trails. We're still doing the couple of the wine things. You may want to speak to that real quickly while you're here.
Well, I think one of the things I'll speak to marry the restaurant week as well as people traveling in is actually Restaurant Week falls within one of the great huge birding weeks, which is local. And what research has shown is that people that are interested in birding also are foodies and also are winies. So they enjoy their fine wines and their fine foods. And although birding the week is not happening here in Lorain County, it's also very close. So it gives people an opportunity to try one of our restaurants. So we're kind of being a little bit intentional and looking at, yes, it's an opportunity to get people to try our restaurants, try people locally, people that are driving in from out of the county, but what is happening regionally in which people are traveling to this area, and how can we get them to visit Lorain County during that time as well, if that marries some of the concepts that we've been discussing.
And remembering, we are in a very, very tough spot. We are wedged in between two very large destinations. And so we got to stake our claim on what we can. With Erie County, with Cedar Point and the water parks and Kalahari to the west, and with Cuyahoga with all the sporting events and the sports teams and the things that they have as in a big city community. We're trying to stake out a claim of what we are. And so we're going to be working on that for the next year and a half. And I think you'll be pleased with the outcome. I personally am not going to be here during West Front Week, and I'm very disappointed that it's that week. We'll be spending my money out in Napa, California. So I'm not going to be able to have any of these great eats, but I'm hoping the commissioners go out and you can tell us about it at a future meeting, how it went. Jen, we'll do the drawing up here probably sometime late May.
Yes.
After the 17th?
Yep. The 17th is about when we set the date, but we'll make sure that.
So we'll do the drawings up here, and we'll have a little event there, and unfortunately, you cannot participate in the drawing. So.
Well, it was nice, though, all the restaurants I've seen on there, I've partaked at most of them multiple times, but I haven't been to 1833 yet in Oberlin, so. Yeah.
Yes.
Of course, the bed tax is what generates the revenue for the Visitors Bureau, but the important part is we have to get people into our community first to look around and say, wow, I want to come back, I want to come here more often. Geez, I didn't know this was over here. So it's a real opportunity for us to get people into the county who maybe otherwise wouldn't come in. Now, they may not stay the night, but maybe next time they will. And that's the whole idea of this. And I just want to thank you. I know when we were making the transition with the Visitors Bureau and the previous board, as I've said before, put a lot of passion, a lot of heart into what they were doing, but we've been looking for kind of a new vision, and I know this had been discussed in the past about wanting to do something with a restaurant week. People may be surprised to know we don't even have a restaurant association, which often you'll find in a lot of places. But this is part of trying to take the county in a new direction. We're also working on a $100,000 lakefront planning grant with communities of Avon Lake and Sheffield Lake and Vermilion and Lorain. And the big driving factor there is to create more economic activity on the lakefront, preferably that's tourism related. But the whole thing, and I know we've had discussions about the Visitors Bureau eventually putting together some things that will be lakefront focused. So that we can draw more people to the lakefront. But it's all about creating that buzz and that economic activity. I was just going to suggest when you're running those commercials, I'm sure there are a lot of folks that when they go downtown, and maybe it's even something that keeps people from going downtown to some of the fine restaurants, is what they have to pay for parking. So I think anytime we can say that, there's going to be free parking, I'm not aware of any situation of any of these places where there's paid parking involved, but to say free parking, people are like, wow, great, there's another, 10, 15, 20 bucks I can throw at food or wine or, something else I want to do.
That's an excellent point, Commissioner. We hadn't raised that because most times you're going to pay $10 to $20 to park downtown at any of the Restaurant Week restaurants, so I hadn't really even thought about that. It's a great hook.
Yep, we'll make sure that that message is communicated clearly too. Yep.
So have you picked your restaurants yet, Commissioner?
I want to try them all.
We'll be waiting for your review. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
We'll need I'll need the presentation. I want to get it posted on our social media also. We'll get all that stuff up and running over here. And hopefully some of our partners will run that too, and we'll see the excitement. Thanks very much.
Great.
Thank you.
Commissioners, remembering we're still a donor county. A lot of money is leaving this county. We got to try to keep some of it here. While the community is fed by the bed tax, people go where there's opportunities to enjoy more than just a hotel room. And I'm reminded that Commissioner Kalo told me one time that in Columbus they use part of their hotel bed tax to fund their programs aimed at the homeless. Right. So because to get them off in the panhandling, get them off the streets, because there was an impediment to people wanting to visit there. Where the money comes from is important, but what you do with it to make your community attractive to others is even more important.
We're back to you, Mr. Cortez.
You're back to me already?
Back to you for your comments.
The Commissioner, I have to expand my executive session. I also like to talk about purchase of a potential piece of real estate. I said sale earlier, and I do have something I want to talk to the board about, another opportunity. It's been a long morning. I think you're going to talk about our event earlier in the week and possibly our meeting yesterday, so I'll just yield to council right now.
Mr. Ennis?
Commissioners, yesterday we passed a resolution regarding the pheasant run assessments, and I realized after I got back to the office that because I anticipate based on the reaction of the people that we're going to want to do that deferral, and if we do that deferral we have to wait 5 days and then pass it. So I would ask you to rescind that resolution, and then we'll bring it up for vote again on Wednesday.
Make a motion to rescind the resolution.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Can we just, because people are going to look at this, not going to know what we're doing. We're putting in the sewers at Pheasant Run. It looks like the folks want to do a 30-year assessment. Unfortunately, at any one time, you can only do a 20-year assessment, but you can do a 20-year with a 10-year deferment. You do the initial 20, and then at the conclusion of the 20-year term, an additional 10-year assessment is added. It's called the deferred assessment. That'll allow the cost over time to be less upfront for those residents, and that opportunity is probably what they're going to want, and that's what Mr. Ennis is speaking to, because somebody tunes in right now and they have no clue what we're doing.
And I also think it's important for people to know that it was the homeowners association through the residents who approached us making this request, that they had the EPA and the Attorney General's office knocking on their door for lack of compliance. This is a way to help them out. Obviously, we're able to secure better interest rates and provide a longer period of time as well, too, on the term. So this is our way of really, I think, as Commissioner Kokoski pointed out, it's an issue of last resort by them coming to us.
We had well, we might as well talk about it now during the resolution. We had the best attended meeting yesterday. I don't think I've seen that many people in this room ever before. There was some tough questioning, but by far and large, probably one of the most civil sewer hearings that I've ever been at. There was a lot of give and take. I think that people are appreciative of the work we've done. We're appreciative of the situation they're in. It's going to be good, but at the end of the day, it's going to be costly. But the realization that these folks have come to is that it has to be done. So I was very pleased yesterday, although I have never seen that many people with the walls open in this room before. So it was very well attended, which is surprising, not only by people that had some negative feelings about it, but there was a lot of people that had a lot of positive feelings about it that came too, which is unusual at sewer hearing meetings. They usually stay home.
I think there was just a lot of people that didn't have all the information. They wanted to get it all in one place, you know, that they didn't hear from either their neighbors or their homeowners association, or hadn't been involved, and they figured if they come here, they were going to find out what was really going on. And I think they were appreciative of all the dialogue that we had and the information that was put out. So
You may want to report to the Lorain County Historical Society. We actually had applause at the end of the meeting.
That's what I was going to say. I lost my bet with Ted, because I bet that the newspaper headlines were going to be commissioners get applause for sewer assessments.
We weren't going to get that. It's the Chronicle. That was something, wasn't it, Brad? They applauded us when we assessed them.
So let's see, did we pass the resolution?
No.
Yes.
Is there any further discussion? Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Okay.
And other than that, I do have a few updates on pending or imminent litigation.
Commissioners report.
Well, it has been a very, very busy week. Like it was said, last Wednesday, we had our stormwater meeting out in New Russia Township at the Lodge. Great turnout. What do we have, like 80 to 100 people there, I would say.
It was good. All the townships were represented. There was quite a few villages represented. It was a great showing,
Yeah.
and that speaks volume to the stormwater work that's being done through the SWAC and through the stormwater district. 80 plus.
It just says about how much better it is when we all work together for the common good of our community, and that's what's going on with our stormwater district. They're bringing us projects, we're talking about it, and getting work done. That work that's been needing to be done for years and years and years, and has
Decades.
Decades. So.
The Commissioner, will also point out that we had questions and answers at the end. We talked about the future. I heard no criticism.
Nope.
I heard nothing but compliments of the directions we're taking, and there was a few people that actually we could look at a few different issues and expand what we're doing, but there was no hostility and no negativity in any of that for that meeting.
Yeah, so that made me feel good. And then that was Wednesday. Thursday evening, I was downtown Lorain at Scorchers. Charlie Brown, running for city council, was there. She had a great turnout. I hadn't been there for a long time, and we used to go there when it was the corner after city council meetings back in the day.
It
So
lost its character after it wasn't the corner.
actually, there was a
anymore.
person that came there for the first time since it's been Scorchers, and she was shocked. She was just shocked at what it looked like. So
Oh my goodness, that's like 15 years now.
I
isn't
know,
it?
I know. It was somebody, I'll tell you who it was later. I don't want to put her name out there. Friday, Judy Nedwick had a great fish fry at Rosewood in Lorain. No bones. Every time I have fish, if I have a bone, I'm done. And I think Bennett's fish did.
Chris Bennett.
Chris Bennett did the fish, and it was really good. Then after that, I went out to the lodge again. I was out at the lodge 2 times this past week for the NRA banquet. They usually have it at German's Villa. They had it out at the lodge. Great turnout, big, huge event as always. I'm sure they made a lot of money. Not so much on me this year. I didn't buy any guns or anything, so.
We're thankful, right, Matt?
Yeah.
I'm thankful.
We're within distance here.
And as was said yesterday we had our Pheasant Run sewer hearing. And then CBCF had the ribbon cutting yesterday too, which we were not able to attend because our meeting did last quite a long time, so. Been a busy week.
Yeah,
My report.
exactly. I didn't make the NRA, but I did make the Sheffield Township Fire Department steak fry, and they had a great turnout, as usual, sell out of
Good.
400 people, so. So other than that, we were everywhere last week.
Yes, we were. Mr. Lundy.
Mr. Lundy.
Okay. Hoping that we'll have good attendance this Friday for the Lorain County Community Alliance Transportation Day. It'll start at 8:30 with a continental breakfast in this room, and then the meeting beginning around 9 o'clock. We'll be getting updates from Grace Galucci with NOACA, also ODOT. We'll have several representatives here talking about projects along with Ken Carney. It's always a well-attended event. Mayors, council members, township trustees, just everybody seems to show up for that event. It's a good way of getting an update on all the projects that are going on. It's your tax dollars at work, improving things for transportation in the region. Also, thanks to Don Romanchik and Jim and everybody else who put together the stormwater meeting that we had in New Russia. The Stormwater Advisory Committee is just a great success story here in Lorain County. The townships, the county commissioners, everybody working together, making decisions on what needs to be addressed to address stormwater, and providing grants to make that possible, putting money back into the communities to make things better. It was good to attend Charlie Brown's event that she held in Lorain recently, and Judy Nedwick, boy, just one of the nicest public servants you're ever going to meet, who does a great job as our county recorder for her event. Terry Soto, new treasurer over there in Lorain. That was very well attended, nice lady, nice family, and good staff members. I had a chance to meet some of the folks who work for her. Great food, absolutely. Main Street Elyria met also this past week, had a chance to attend their meeting. They'll be announcing soon their steak fry coming up and plans on the Pops concert as well. I'm sure it'll be returning for downtown Elyria. As we said, the Pheasant Run Sewers meeting went extremely well. So glad that we're able to help those residents out of a really bad situation. It's not every day that they could probably just go to a bank and get a loan at 2% or less, and maybe get a 20-year to 30-year term.
To be honest with you, they couldn't get a loan at all.
Right.
They were not able to finance their on-site fixes and so forth. So you're right. They not only could not get the money at that less cost, but I don't think they could have gotten it at all. So thank you for what you're doing for those folks.
And then we're also going to get started with our lakefront planning grant for Lakefront Lorain County. We're having a stakeholders meeting where we had reached out to the mayors and the council members in each of the respective lakefront communities, asking them to reach out to business representatives and others who have an interest in the success of the lakefront. That stakeholders meeting, actually, we're going to start that today. That'll be at 3 p.m. at what's called the Terrace now, I guess, at Lakeview Park. And looking forward to that. That's a great working partnership with our lakefront communities, the Board of Commissioners, and also the Metro Parks, and I'd like to thank Mike Challenger for all the work he's been doing on helping us coordinate that through our leadership team.
Board correspondence?
I move the reading be waived.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Public comment?
Public comment. Anybody wishing to address the board this morning? It's still morning. It's been a long meeting, 11
It's
o'clock.
still morning, yeah.
Let me start my timer. We need you to introduce yourself, Jerry.
Good morning. My name is Gerald W. Phillips. My address is 461 Windward Way, Avon Lake, Ohio. On March 15th, I was at the commissioners' meeting, and I made a plea and a request that you put the repeal of the sales tax on the ballot for November, which you rejected. And then on March 22nd, I attended the another commissioners meeting, and I placed a taxpayer demand on Jerry Ennis, and also that was rejected. So as a result of those two rejections, you forced me on behalf of the taxpayers to file a lawsuit, which was filed today, challenging the legality of the resolution 16799. There's two groups that are supporting the litigation efforts. The Libertarian Party of Lorain County, the Ohio Citizens for Honesty, Integrity, and Openness in Government. Also, these two groups, the Libertarian Party and the Ohio Citizens for Honesty, Integrity, and Openness in Government, are also going to be supportive of a petition drive to repeal the resolution 16799 and put it on the ballot on November 7, 2017. The commissioners should have listened to me when I made those pleas, because you could have collected the sales tax through November. Now you basically expose yourself through the lawsuit and the petition, okay, to lose that. You really, as a result of your actions, you forced a lawsuit, you forced the petition drive, and you further angered the taxpayers of Lorain County, who already were upset. Instead of having my support, now you forced my opposition. You made a poor choice, and you made a bad decision. Thank you.
Thank you, but we took the advice of our legal counsel. We didn't not take your advice. We took our advice of our counsel. But thank you.
I just want to make one comment. You know, we passed the resolution in the middle of December. Mr. Phillips' clients waited 3 months to make their demand letter. I responded to that demand letter in 9 days, which Mr. Phillips deemed to be delaying and reasonable delay, and he has deemed it to be rejected. It was not rejected. I responded within 9 days, which I think is prompt, to be completely frank with you. And again, I asked Mr. Phillips the same thing I have repeatedly asked of him. I've asked him to supply legal authority and facts on which I can examine his demand, and he refuses to reply and to provide that. So I would respectfully and strongly disagree with Mr. Phillips' categorization that we have rejected his demand.
Hi, we need you to just state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Curtis Weems. I live at 350 Greenbrier Drive, Avon Lake, Ohio. As commissioners, you have exercised a gross abuse of power, and I mean a gross abuse of power, by unilaterally imposing the sales tax, in spite of the fact that nearly 90% of our citizens voted against it this past November. I'm simply acting on the behalf of these voters. By being a party to this lawsuit and working to get the tax issue back on the ballot. As citizens, if we can't stand against abuse such as what you have perpetrated on this community, then we can only expect more abuse of power from officials like yourselves. I stand against you, and I'm hoping that we can somehow make you understand that we don't work for you. You work for us. We gave you a budget, a limit. We told you what we were willing to spend, and you have decided to impose a tax against our will.
Anybody else? Seeing none, I move that we go into executive session as outlined by the Administrator and Assistant County Prosecutor.
Second.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
This has been a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda for a printable copy of the agenda.